Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
We've gotten so many notes lately about motivation and success, and so today we're going to dive into that.
Sounds great.
We're going to be looking at an episode of the motivational podcast Rise and Shine as a jumping off point.
Okay.
But of course, we're going to go way deeper.
Yeah.
One thing I always like to remind everybody is that success, it looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Exactly.
So I want to kind of just take a moment and think about what success mean.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you? And if it helps you can close your eyes to see, take a minute and just really picture what achieving your goals would feel and look like.
And while you're holding that picture in your mind, think about what is driving you toward that. What's the force behind your actions? What motivates you?
Right.
Because that's really what Rise and Shine focuses on, is that no matter what your definition of success is, motivation is what gets you there.
I love that. It's not enough to dream about it.
Yeah.
You have to be motivated to actually do something.
Absolutely.
So I guess the question for everybody listening is, what motivates you? Is it this burning desire to prove something to yourself? Maybe it's the thought of making a difference in the world. Or is it just the feeling of accomplishment that comes with achieving something you set your mind to?
Yeah.
For me, it's a little bit of all of those things, I think.
I think for a lot of people it is.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting about the Rise and Shine episode is that they're not sugarcoating it. They're saying that, the path to success is rarely smooth sailing.
Right.
In fact, they even use this analogy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they describe it as this winding trail.
Oh, wow.
Full of twists and turns and obstacles.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, and so it's not about avoiding obstacles altogether.
Right.
It's about learning to navigate them.
That really resonates with me.
Yeah.
I can think of a time when I first started podcasting, and I,
Oh, yeah.
well, you know what? Let's not get sidetracked.
Nope.
But I think everybody listening can think of a time that they faced a major obstacle.
Oh, for sure.
Something that really just threw you off course.
Yeah.
And did you let it stop you, or did you find a way to overcome it?
I think that's the real key here, isn't it? It's not about never falling down. It's about how you get back up.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those obstacles, they even become opportunities for learning and growth.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Like that time I totally bombed an audition.
Oh, no.
Okay. No more personal anecdotes, I promise.
All right.
But seriously, those setbacks, they can often lead us to unexpected places or teach us valuable lessons we wouldn't have learned otherwise.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I think that leads us to another really important point that Rise and Shine brings up, which is that motivation might get you started.
Right.
But consistency keeps you going.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and they use this analogy that I think is really powerful.
Oh, I love a good analogy.
Me too. It's like planting a seed.
Hmm.
You don't just stick it in the ground and expect a giant oak tree to just sprout up overnight.
Yeah.
It takes time and patience and consistent nurturing for that little seed to grow into something magnificent.
That's so true.
Right. Well,
That's the same with our goals.
absolutely.
We need to be taking consistent action, even if it's small steps, day after day, to really make progress.
Yeah.
And, for me, I found that even setting aside just 15 minutes every morning to work on my podcast script
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
It's a great example.
Yeah,
Small, consistent actions, they really do add up over time.
it's crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
So think about your own goals. What's one small thing you can commit to doing every single day to get closer to where you want to be? Maybe it's writing for 15 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe it's practicing a skill for 30 minutes, or even just spending 5 minutes visualizing your success.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. And when we're talking about these consistent actions that we're taking, it really goes hand in hand with setting clear and actionable goals.
Oh, yeah.
Like Rise and Shine really emphasizes that.
Totally.
It's not enough to just have these kind of vague ideas of what we want to achieve.
Right.
You need to get specific.
So you're saying, instead of saying, I want to be successful,
Yeah.
I should say, I want to write and produce my own podcast and reach 10,000 downloads per episode by December 2025 or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a clear goal.
Okay.
And they actually suggest writing those goals down.
Really?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like you're creating a roadmap for your brain to follow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Have you ever tried that?
You know what I have?
Okay.
And it's funny because it seems so simple, but there really is something powerful about putting pen to paper and making those goals tangible.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's almost like a contract with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then by breaking those bigger goals down into smaller, more manageable steps,
Right.
it suddenly feels a lot less daunting.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I think we've covered like setting these clear goals.
Yeah.
We've talked about motivation.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about consistency.
Yep.
But even with all of that, there are going to be times when we just hit a snag
Oh, absolutely.
and we face setbacks. And that's where Rise and Shine talks about the power of mindset.
Yes. And this is where the idea of a growth mindset comes in.
Okay.
It's about believing that your abilities aren't fixed, that you can always learn and grow from your experiences.
So instead of seeing a challenge as like a failure,
Yeah,
you view it as an opportunity to learn and improve.
exactly.
Okay.
But, I think it's hard to maintain that kind of positivity when you're facing like repeated setbacks.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It's so easy to fall back into those old patterns.
And that's why they contrast the growth mindset with what's called a fixed mindset.
Okay.
So someone with a fixed mindset, they might see a setback as proof of their limitations.
Right.
And that can be incredibly discouraging.
Like, oh, I knew I couldn't do it.
Exactly.
I'm not good enough. This is too hard.
Whereas with a growth mindset, you might say, okay, what can I learn from this?
Right.
How can I adjust my approach and try again?
I love that.
Yeah.
So what about somebody who maybe tends towards a fixed mindset?
Yeah.
How do they start to shift more towards a growth mindset?
That's a great question. And actually, Rise and Shine offers some really practical advice.
Okay, tell me.
One thing they suggest is to start paying attention to your self-talk.
Oh, yeah.
What are you telling yourself when you face a challenge? Are you focusing on your limitations or are you focusing on the possibility of growth?
That's a really good point.
Yeah. And they also talk about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who have a growth mindset.
Oh, that's huge.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like their positive energy and their belief in you can actually be contagious.
absolutely can rub off on you.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to remember that developing a growth mindset, it's an ongoing process.
It's not a one-time thing.
No, it's not
Yeah.
like you just flip a switch and suddenly you have a growth mindset.
Right.
There will be times when you slip back into old patterns of thinking,
Yeah.
but the key is to just be aware of those thoughts
Mm,
and consciously choose to reframe them.
I love that.
Yeah.
A really good reminder that we have the power to choose
Yeah,
how we respond to these challenges.
exactly.
And that choice can make all the difference in our journey towards success.
I think that's a great point to end on.
So we've talked a lot about achieving these goals,
Sure.
but Rise and Shine got me thinking about the impact of the journey on you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Like how will pursuing those goals and overcoming all those obstacles and even just developing that growth mindset, like how will all of that change?
Well, you know what's so fascinating to me is that sometimes I think the journey itself is even more valuable than the destination.
Oh, wow.
You're not just checking things off a to-do list,
Right.
You're transforming yourself.
So it's not just about achieving success, but it's about who you become along the way.
Exactly.
I love that.
What new skills will you develop? What strengths will you discover about yourself that you didn't even know you had?
Wow, yeah.
And, how will your perspective on the world and on yourself evolve as you kind of go through those challenges?
It's like success is a side effect of all that personal growth.
It really is. I love that.
Wow.
And it makes me think, how do we even define success in the first place?
Right.
Maybe it's not just about external achievements, but also about that internal transformation.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So I guess the takeaway here for everybody listening is that as you continue on your own path
Yeah.
toward whatever success means to you,
Mm-hmm.
just remember that it's not just about crossing that finish line.
Right.
It's about who you become along the way.
Absolutely.
It's about embracing those challenges,
Yeah.
learning from those setbacks,
Yep.
and never stopping believing in your ability to grow.
And don't forget that growth mindset.
Yeah.
It's going to be a powerful tool for you in everything you do, not just in achieving specific goals, but in all areas of your life.
This has been such a great deep dive into motivation and success.
It has.
I hope that this conversation has given everybody listening a lot to think about and maybe even inspired you to take some action.
I hope so too.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
The journey continues long after this deep dive ends. So keep exploring, keep learning,
Keep growing.
and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
See ya.